Welcome back, everybody. My name is Sucker, and today's video is definitely something different. Merry Christmas to those of you that celebrated. If not, hope you guys are having a great day regardless. In today's video, we're going to be doing something that I've never done before. It's the holidays. I felt like shouting some people out, and I felt like, really taking the opportunity to look around the NBA or the basketball YouTube community, picking out a couple of people that I think either just aren't getting enough recognition or maybe are like right on the cusp of having some really significant growth and providing either some advice or just simply a shout out to them. I picked 3 of them out of a tweet that I sent out the other day. You guys were super helpful sending in suggestions. And of course, I'll leave a link in the description below for every single one of these creators that I'm going to be talking about in this video. You guys go drop them a sub, go say what's up, go show some love to their videos. I know it would really make their day if they saw a nice little jump in subs today as a result of this video. But quickly before we get started, of course, if you enjoy content like this or just basketball content, this is a great place for it. I upload twice a day, every day. It's a great place for consistent basketball or NBA content. You can also leave a like rating on the video as well, helps me out a ton, allows the video to get out to more people on YouTube, and you can check me out at various socials at the bottom of the screen. They're in a link tree down in the description below. But with those things said, we're gonna go and get to our first one. Quick blanket statement though, just to begin the video. If you didn't get picked for the video, it's not the end of the world. These are just three of the channels that were sent to me that I liked the most. And also, I'm going to give advice at various points throughout this video to these channels specifically. And, they can either choose to take that advice or not. It's just my opinion, and they can kind of do with it what they want. I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just trying to be helpful. And again, it's all constructive and it's advice. It's not like I'm saying anything necessarily bad about their channels. So with those things said, I got all my, got all my stuff out of the way. Got all my caveats out of the way. We're going to begin with DoubleTake over here. This is a channel that was sent to me over on Twitter. And we're going to talk about some things that I like here. So when you go to click on one of his videos, one of the best parts about it for me is it's clear that this is someone that's comfortable talking about basketball. And the presentation, whether he's on screen or not, I think is really, really good. There's a tendency, and this happened to me all the time in the beginning, to talk really, really quickly. And I still do it a lot as well. When you're either reading off of a script or you're talking offhand, there's a tendency to really screw up the presentation by talking really, really fast. I don't get that indication from this guy. There's knowledge here and a really good presentation style that I like. I think the thumbnails are really good as well. That's a really consistent issue at times for people, whether it's basketball, YouTube, or otherwise, where they don't have the knowledge base, or they haven't looked into enough how to make really good thumbnails. It's clear that this guy has done some research on how to do that. And I think his thumbnails are really good. I think they stick out. And I think that if they popped up on my feed, I would immediately think, oh, this is someone that knows what they're doing and is probably putting together good videos. In terms of the advice that I would give you, I personally would focus more on the face cam stuff. And I know that it's weird to kind of be talking about basketball and basketball not be on the screen, but there are other ways that you can present whatever you're talking about that doesn't involve having like game film on the screen. And I think that the setup that you have for your face cam, whether it be audio wise or visually, is really, really good. And I would capitalize on that because I think that allows people to connect more to who you are rather than just your voice. I think that's the direction that a lot of this NBA YouTube stuff is going to be going. And I think you're already pretty well set up to capitalize on that. And I would focus more on that if I were you. I would focus more on making it about yourself, making it about your opinions on basketball rather than, just stuff that's happening in basketball with your voice in the background. I would focus more on creative ways to present whatever you're talking about that doesn't involve footage where you can use your own face. And then that also allows it to be a better long-term option if this is something you want to do like professionally at any point. It's much, much easier to do that when you're not using someone else's video. So I think you're doing a really good job. The only other piece of advice I would give is I would kind of, narrow things down a little bit and think, what do you want your channel to focus on? What do you want your channel to be about? Do you want it to be a draft thing? Do you want it to be about NBA news? I see you sprinkled some other sports in there as well, which is not the end of the world. If you want to do multiple sports, that's fine. You just have to talk about them on a consistent basis. Otherwise, YouTube is going to have a hard time figuring out where to recommend your stuff and who to recommend it to. So that would be my only piece of advice, is to work on the presentation a bit more in terms of focusing more on the face cam. That would be my personal preference. And then focusing a little bit more on what you want to do. Are you going to be an analysis guy? Are you going to be all about the draft all the time? what is going to be your thing basketball wise, but I think you're doing an awesome job. You have less than 200 subscribers, which is kind of wild to me. If you guys want to go check him out, I'll have the link in the description for every single one of these guys that I'm going to be talking about in this video. It'd be awesome if you guys could go drop them a sub, go check out their content, because I do legitimately think they're all doing a really good job. Next up now is one that got tagged to me a few times over on Twitter, and it's Intellect. He already has over 16,000 subs. He's doing a really awesome job. And I think that really what stands out for this guy for me is a couple of things. One, it's clear that, you know, the audio presentation is really good. The voice is very nice, it's very crisp, very clear. That's something that I'm still trying to work on every single day, and he's doing a better job of that than I am. But also there's clearly a knowledge base here. This is clearly someone that knows what they're talking about, that has put a lot of thought into what they're talking about, specifically about the game of basketball. And in contrast to two of the other selections here, I do think that it makes more sense to do this video-based approach where you're talking over film, you're talking about you know, specific teams, and just the way that you are comfortable talking about basketball. I think it makes more sense to have video stuff on the screen, and the graphics that you're using as well are awesome. I think that from a presentation standpoint, this is top notch. I still think you could get a little bit more creative with how you're using the video in terms of how you're cutting it up. But I think from a graphic and presentation standpoint, it's awesome. Again, you're not talking too fast. You're talking at a good pace. I think that you're choosing interesting topics. You're focused, and as is the case with every single one of these guys, the consistency is there. That was something that I was really looking for when I was looking at potentially shouting people out. I didn't want to shout someone out that's posted one time in the last month, and I know that, you know, not everybody has time to do this on a consistent basis, but every single person here has done a good job of establishing something that they're able to do. In this case, it's 2 videos a week. You do it every single week for the most part, and that is a great schedule to follow. It's a great way to build a following. People know you're gonna be having content out that often. In terms of some advice, I would work a little bit more on the thumbnail stuff. It's not that they're bad, it's just that there's a lot going on the screen, and when you're thinking about how small these thumbnails are, whether people watching on mobile or otherwise, I would want things to stand out a little bit more. So adding a stroke to your text, or adding some, adding some glow to the players that you're cutting out. Just look into a little bit more how to vibrant up some of your thumbnails to where they stand out a bit more. I think you're doing a really awesome job of having a lot of information on the screen so people know what they're clicking on, which is great. But maybe some things that pop a little bit more would be a good idea to look into. But other than that, I think you're doing a really awesome job. You clearly have a focus here where, leading up to the draft, and you've got a lot of draft content that you're putting a lot of time and energy into researching these guys and breaking down film, and that's awesome. And then now that we move towards the actual season, you're using that knowledge to talk more about teams as a whole. It's clear that the base of people that you've built up on this channel are really focused and really locked in on your draft content. So figure out why that's working so well, and if it's just the content specifically, or if it's something that you're doing, and then expand on that if you want to, or just stay completely focused on the draft, and that will work for you as well. But this is another guy you guys should definitely go check out. Intellect, again, link down in the description. I think he's doing a really, really awesome job. And the last one now is a really, really interesting one, and it's Hoop Genius over here. He's got a little bit less than 3,000 subscribers, and more than anybody else in this list of 3 people here, I think this guy has a really charismatic personality. I think he's going to be someone that people are going to be able to connect with easily, and just, I don't know, just has this ability to really make you feel like he knows what he's talking about from a basketball standpoint, but also in a way where it's just, you're just talking to a person. You're not talking to a voice. You're not talking to, a Fox Sports analyst. You're just talking to a guy that loves basketball. And I really appreciate the uniqueness of what this guy's trying to do here, because there are really well-performing videos on this channel that are typical NBA YouTube stuff, which is good. Like, you're looking at top 5 steals of the NBA draft. It's got over 60,000 views. That's typical NBA YouTube stuff, and it's doing really well. But there's also sprinkled in these different show segments almost that obviously aren't doing as well, but that's just because that's not what NBA YouTube is built for, and YouTube is not going to push those things out. And that would be my first piece of advice. Is I think the blend of content you have is really, really good, and I think a lot of the focus is on you, and your face cam setup and your audio setup is fantastic, and it's gotten a lot better. You go back and look at videos from 8 months ago, and the audio is super echoey and the background isn't interesting. You've done an awesome job of improving that. Your presentation style is on point. I love it. And again, the mix of content I think is really good, but understand that if you're looking for YouTube growth, those traditional NBA YouTube ideas, things like steals of the draft, stuff like that, That's what's going to grow the channel itself. But I think that you should stick with some of these show ideas because I think they're really interesting and they're really good pieces of content. But those you're going to have to focus on growing and bringing people to YouTube to view those, because YouTube just isn't going to push those things out in the same way that it would typical NBA YouTube stuff. So if you have an Instagram account, if you have a Twitter account, if you have Facebook, TikTok, whatever, really promoting those things and bringing people to YouTube for these shows is going to be a better way to grow those and promote those. But regardless, I think you're doing a really good job. The thumbnail stuff is definitely unique and it stands out. A lot of times people kind of get lost in the shuffle with the NBA YouTube thumbnails specifically because a lot of them look the same. Yours are different, yours are unique. I like the vibrant colors. I think you're doing a really awesome job. And so again, as I said, link down in the description, Hoop Genius on YouTube. And those are going to be the three guys. Like I said, I want to do something different. I wanted to kind of shout out a couple people that I think they're doing an awesome job. The things that I was looking for here were definitely consistency. I was looking for someone that, you know, clearly has a, you know, a knowledge base about the NBA, but they're not just a voice. They're not just droning on in the background. They're providing value in their content, whether that's with their personality, whether that's with a great knowledge base and a great way to present the information to another person, whatever the case may be. I think these guys are all providing value with their content, and hopefully they get a little bit of a boost from this video today. But at the end of this, I did want to give some blanket thoughts just overall for anybody that is looking at doing an NBA YouTube thing. There's really two ways you can go about it, in my opinion. One, you can focus more on the face cam stuff and on you know, focusing on who you are and on your opinions about basketball and trying to get people to come back to your channel because they want to hear what you have to say. That's one way to do it. And then you can go the strictly analysis route where you know, you're focusing a lot on like film breakdown and you're showing video on screen a ton. They have, you know, advantages and disadvantages. It's clear which one I've chosen. And it's just kind of up to you as an individual. The only advice I would give specific to that is that I personally think that one of them is easier to grow quickly, that being showing video, and the other is easier to make a full-time real thing, which is the path that I've chosen, which is more face cam based. I've been doing YouTube full-time since I had less than 50,000 subs. And that's because of the consistency that I'm able to, the consistent basis I'm able to put content out with, and how quickly at times you can put content out as well. I'm not spending 8 hours to edit every single video. I'm focusing more on what I'm saying and on covering a lot of things and providing my opinion on a lot of different things rather than spending 8 hours editing. I'm not telling you which one is better. There's just pros and cons there. And so that would be kind of a blanket statement. If your channel didn't make it on this list and you felt like you deserved it, you know, just those are my reasonings for picking those guys as I've given throughout the video. And then also, again, just kind of some blanket advice there at the end. But that is going to be the end of the second video of today. I hope you guys had an awesome Christmas. Again, if you do celebrate it, if not, I hope you guys had an awesome day regardless. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. And again, link down in the description to every single one of these guys. I think they're all doing an awesome job. With those things said, once again, my name is Tucker. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.